Thanks for coming over, this is Amodeus. Today we'll see if the siege towers can do Steel Widow 14. Now, before we get started with the run itself, everyone has been asking about the gear build-out to be done first. So we're going to go ahead and do that today, but let me know in the comments if you like this format better or if you think we should keep them at the end. Let's look at Eleanor first. These stats will at least give you a consistent champion for ascended raids. Now, my Eleanor is not skilled up, so that is not a factor for today. Her gear is pretty straightforward. It's focused on attack, then HP, then defense, then resistance, and then finally accuracy. Now, because I was able to put precise on her, that's why accuracy took a backseat, but I am looking for additional gear to get her accuracy up to 80% without sacrificing her tankiness. So it's probably good that we're in the Ascended Steel Widow raids, right? So the next unit is Amodeus. He is a bit of a different story than Eleanor. He has a much lower requirement for attack percentage, as you can see, but he has a much higher requirement for accuracy because his accuracy is not boosted on ascension like the siege towers. Now, this particular Amodeus is fully skilled up, and I did build him tankier and required some different gear choices. So it's still adept, but it's broken because he honestly got all of the leftover runes that I had available to make him work, which means that he's going to be attack, HP, and ever a very unpopular choice is going to be accuracy. And like I mentioned before, this is leftover gear, so I'm 100% behind. We could tweak and put our premier gear on him, but this is our madness for today. So we're going to move on. Let's talk about Caroline. So Caroline is just like Eleanor. We're aiming for about 2,000 attack, and then we're going to let everything else kind of fall down from there. Because with Eleanor, once again, we still don't have her skilled up, so it's not a consideration. When we look at her gear, once again, it's adept precise. And as you can see, like, we really did just go for attack and sustainability with that HP, then defense, then resistance as much as possible. Now, we did have better gear for her, so we were able to get some accuracy substats squeezed in, and she's at 75, which is, like I said, right about where I would love to get Eleanor too. Now, the next unit on the block is Valor, the Archangel. He's a great unit, integral to the system, and much like the rest of the units in here, he's not skilled up. So what we really have to do is kind of lean on the gear, right? And for him, once again, it's not going to be premier gear. It's a little bit better than we had on Amodeus, but it's still going to be an adept broken, and it's really going to be focused on HP wherever possible, right? Everything's going to be about HP. So for him, adept is great because you're going to find in the raid that his shield is just absolutely critical. And his synergy trait is actually the synergy trait that we'll be using today because I think it makes the rest of the team a little bit more survivable. So let's talk about Yua. So Yua is a very interesting character. She's champion rather. She's mostly skilled up. Still got some stuff to go. And really how she's built is 100% survivability. So it's really just HP defense, right? Now, there's unavoidable stat confusion sometimes just because you roll what you roll on the stats, but really our goal was to go HP defense. Now, I've read about some different hybrid Yua builds, but for us in this Ascended raid, for me and everything else that I do, I'm only looking for survivability from Yua. Now, it's great if I can get some crit damage stuff in there to maximize her skill, but that's not her thing. Her thing is 100% heal survivability, and we can pretty much move on from there right to the raid. Let's just jump into it. It's because nothing that we're going to talk about you can't see right now as we're doing the run. So one of the big downfalls of this team is that it suffers from not having a stripper, which makes Amodeus the most important unit on this team with his buff block. Now, for the last dozen or so runs, we haven't had a problem with that. So if he dies or he misses that buff block, the team's pretty done, right? Because once invulnerability and immunity get up, it's over. So it's really, really important for me and this team to make sure that his accuracy is not going to miss and his durability isn't going to miss. Now, once again, to maximize Amodeus, we had to just kind of sacrifice some HP and some defense. So what we did is we utilized the light archangels. I wish I had a dark angel. The light archangels synergy trait to boost them up, to make them a little bit buffer, right? Now, that hasn't been a problem. What I did see as a problem is when Amodeus was the leader, I thought that the shield would be up more often, and it was, but not enough. So if you are really looking for like maybe building a team that doesn't block the buff but wants to strip the buff, you could go with Vamal and easily just replace Amodeus. Now, if you want to go with buff block and strip and you've built her tanky enough, Hoshi would be a great unit. Now, she doesn't supply as much skill cooldown as Monas does, but she's still a great unit and she fills the role. And both units could probably do it with very little tweaks. In my personal opinion, I think the very best option would be to have the Water Magic Girl Yuka, because she would obviously do the strip. She could replace Yua effortlessly, and then you could go ahead and keep Monas in there, right? And so that would obviously be the best case scenario. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So what we're doing here is what we can do. So, and like I said, it's been pretty successful in the last dozen or so runs. It hasn't been a real big issue, but I definitely see where it can be. So I wanted to let everybody know, right? Don't want to lead you astray on that one. So in this particular thing, the only thing I will say with Steel Widow 14 is that it takes so long to get through the waves because you don't have any real DPS. No matter if you have the Siege Towers and Monas both here, both with high attack, really, you just don't have a lot of DPS. You don't have a lot of armor break. And I know that you're thinking the Siege Towers do some armor break action, but it's not enough to really speed up those runs, and there's not enough AoE damage. Now, this is where it gets a little bit dicey. So instantly the buff block went up, so I feel a little bit more confident. And then you got to remember, there's that cleanse. So it's not just about getting up once, it's about consistently getting up. And I think that that's the important part about having a skilled up Monas, so that your cooldown on that skill is down low, right? And then, of course, now you just have the Siege Towers going to town. Don't worry about Monas dying, because you got Yua here. And she is just amazing with that prevent death mechanic on Wish, so it's not really a concern. Now, what I would say is that there's probably a couple of tweaks in gear that we talked about, showed you. It's not peak gear, right? It's not in-game gear. This isn't god tier gear, right? Where there's so many different things we could do to really improve it. But ultimately, like, the mechanics of what we're doing with this particular team composition work just fine. You know, you can see we're whittling it down, right? And like I said, it's pretty consistent. Now, I have every belief in RNG just wrecking your day, so anticipate that RNG could wreck your day. But this is just proof in the pudding that the Siege Towers not only aren't dead, they're totally viable, and they're bringing you into the highest content available in the game next to the Outer Harbinger, which we're going to get started on pretty soon anyway to kind of see what's going on. Obviously can't use Siege Towers there, but we're going to see what we can do. Maybe we'll maybe during our pull this week we'll get some withering champions, like a green, or rather green. Now I'm that guy. The nature vampire would be fantastic for that. But there's just so many different things going on in the game right now that it's really nice to just be able to pull back and say, like, hey, are these viable in game? Because do I want to invest tutor puffs? Do I want to invest my best gear? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do? And as you can see, if it's getting through the highest levels of ascended content, they're absolutely worth it. Now, the theory is that between today and tomorrow, we'll be able to beat Steel Widow 15 now that we've opened it up. But that's what these videos are all about. Drop down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching the videos. Have a great day. Bye.